James Harden, fresh off of his triumphant tenure in Philadelphia.
What?
And easing his way out of town, as always, on good terms, arrived in LA for a press conference in advance of his Clippers debut, in which he shed this pearl of wisdom on the assembled media crowd and all of us privileged enough to hear him waxing poetic.
You know, I'm not a system player. I am a system. You know what I mean? So.
But little do all of you laughing and mocking Harden realize, he is a system. Arrive in a random city, usurp all usage, amass hollow regular season stats, shit pants in the playoffs every single year, inevitably get fed up with the GM, coach, contract, etc., hit the buffet line, demand a trade, and start the process all over again. This is the James Harden system. And James Harden's penchant for vomiting all over himself when the lights were at their brightest began at an early age in his first and still only career NBA Finals appearance, which came in just his third season after the Oklahoma City Thunder selected him with the third overall pick in the 2009 NBA Draft.
The Oklahoma City Thunder select James Harden.
And 3 short seasons later, by that 2011-2012 season, the young ascending Oklahoma City core, led by Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, had the third best record in the league and were facing the LeBron, Wade, and Bosh Miami Heat super team in the NBA Finals. And yes, Harden was young, but he was 6th man of the year that year for the Thunder and averaged 17 points per game on 49% shooting from the field. The Thunder actually took a 1-0 lead in that series, and despite it lasting only 5 games, was a very close, tightly played series. And you can make a relatively easy case that both Durant and Westbrook actually outplayed LeBron and Wade for the entirety of that series. As yes, at just 23 years of age, Durant averaged more points on substantially higher shooting than LeBron James, while Russell Westbrook, also at just 23 years of age, outscored Dwayne Wade while also averaging more rebounds and assists for the series on comparable shooting splits. Alas, the Thunder just could not overcome James Harden going poopy in his pants.
I go poopy.
While averaging just 12 points per game for the series on just 37% shooting. The low light of the series for Harden came in games 3 and 4. With the series tied 1-1, the Thunder were down just 1 point with 5 minutes to go in a game 3 where Harden scored only 9 points on 2 for 10 shooting. And then the following game, in a must-win situation in game 4, facing a possible 3-1 hole or a 2-2 split, the Thunder were actually up 2 with under 4 minutes to go in that one. Harden for the game, though, shot just 2 for 10 again and scored only 8 points in that one. And thus, the legend of Little Game James was born. Of course, that would be the final season Harden would play for the Thunder. As unhappy with his contract, the Thunder were forced to trade him to the Houston Rockets, where Harden would ascend quickly into a perennial All-Star and MVP candidate. The other staple of Harden's tenure in Houston, aside from his All-Star appearances though, were his continued playoff struggles. Whether it be that choke job in a 2015 elimination game in the Western Conference Finals where he shot 2 of 11 from the field for the game while committing 12 turnovers, or his humiliating 5 for 21 shooting performance in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals in 2018. That game included his legendary 0 for 11 from 3. But speaking of that 2008 playoffs, Little Game James' masterpiece came in the Western Conference Finals that year against the allegedly unbeatable Kevin Durant Warriors. But the Rockets had Golden State reeling in that series, and Houston was up by 11 points at halftime in a winner-take-all Game 7, which was played in Houston. That same Warriors team beat LeBron 4-1 and 4-0 in consecutive finals. This win would have erased all of the playoff vomit sessions in Harden's career. Unfortunately for his legacy and Rockets fans everywhere, little game James came out of that locker room up 11. Golden State hit the Rockets with a 33-15 third quarter haymaker. In the quarter, Jim Harden was just 2 for 7 from the field for 6 points. Overall for that game, he shot 12 of 29 from the field and just 2 of 13 from 3. And after 8 full seasons in Houston, 2 conference finals appearances, and 0 NBA finals, just like that, he was gone. Well, not just like that. First, he demanded a trade, despite hypothetically having still 2 years left on his max contract extension. Then he showed up late to training camp looking, different or noticeably out of shape. Damn it, he was fat. And after starting altercations with teammates in practice, allegedly, and telling reporters the Rockets were, quote, just not good enough.
Which is not good enough.
All while loafing his fat ass around the court for a couple games, the Rockets eventually acquiesced to his trade demands, sending him to his desired destination, the Brooklyn Nets, where he could team with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and where he would last not even 1 full season. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. This bum spends the better part of 3 months eating his way out of Houston and tanking games, all while begging his front office to send him to Brooklyn, and upon arriving, he was so overjoyed to be there that he waited barely even a calendar year before demanding another trade out of town. And again, his organization would placate him, again sending him to his desired destination, the Philadelphia 76ers, to team with future league MVP Joel Embiid, and more importantly, president of basketball operations Daryl Morey, who spent 13 seasons as the Houston Rockets general manager, 8 of which were as Harden's personal hype man and all-around sycophant. Unfortunately, the change of venue would not cure Harden of his proclivity to taking dumps in his pants during the playoffs. In a 2022 Game 6 home elimination game against the Heat, Harden played 42 minutes and scored just 11 points on 4 for 9 shooting. And little game James would return again in the 2023 playoffs, coming up predictably tiny, with 13 points on 4 of 16 shooting, including 0 for 6 from 3, and registering a team worst -10 in a potential closeout Game 6 against Boston at home. And then in Game 7 of that series, another robust effort, scoring just 9 points on 3 of 11 in 41 minutes, while leading the Sixers in turnovers and dropping an eye-popping -30 for that game. Then in the offseason, predictably, he demanded a trade. And when his longtime advocate Daryl Morey couldn't make a deal work, it was time for Harden to lash out against him too.
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
Then, of course, he no-showed training camp before arriving and later skipping out on more practices for personal matters. Eventually, yet again, his organization sent him exactly to the destination he wanted, the Los Angeles Clippers, boasting a very rich and vibrant nightlife coincidentally. Because if there is one thing little game James likes more than the buffet line and choking in playoff games, it is unquestionably the strip club scene, with stories percolating around him all the way back to that 2012 gag job by him in the NBA Finals, in which teammate at the time, Kendrick Perkins, alleged it was the strip clubs in Miami that ruined Harden's series and that he was out late club hopping every night. Then, of course, there was the $50,000 fine the NBA levied against Jimbo when pictures of him partying in season during the pandemic surfaced. And who could forget the reports that a Houston strip club has retired Harden's jersey and has it hanging from the ceiling after he allegedly dropped $1 million there in a single night. If only Harden loved basketball as much as eating, strip clubs, and crying his way out of town. Perhaps his pathetic playoff resume would match his hollow regular season accomplishments. At the end of the day, though, his career earnings are running north of $300 million during his tenure in the NBA. So while James Harden ultimately hasn't benefited a single organization he's ever played for, it is undeniable his system has worked wonders for himself.